North Korean troops withdraw from frontline fighting with Ukraine. North Korean troops fighting alongside Russia have withdrawn from the frontline after suffering heavy casualties. According to Ukrainian and US officials, the arrival of some 11,000 North Korean troops in Russia in November 2024 has raised concerns in Ukraine and the West, who say the deployment signals a significant escalation in the nearly 3-year conflict. However, in just 3 months, North Korean troops have been halved. According to Ukraine's top military commander, General Oleksandr Sysky, Ukrainian soldiers fighting the North Koreans have described themselves as strong fighters. But disorganization in their ranks and a lack of cohesion with Russian units have led to rapid casualties. A Ukrainian official said, since arriving on the battlefield, the North Korean army has been left to fend for itself, advancing with little armor and rarely stopping to regroup or retreat. Critics of Ukraine's military leadership say Kiev's offensive into Russia's Kursk region last year was a waste of resources at a time when Ukrainian frontline forces were faltering under heavy Russian attacks. But President Volodymyr Zelensky has insisted on holding the territory for as long as possible in order to use it as a bargaining chip in future peace talks. Although Russia has vowed to push back the Ukrainian army, observers say President Putin has been reluctant to divert Moscow's forces from the main operations in eastern Ukraine, in part to strengthen his position in future negotiations. Many of the North Korean troops sent are the country's best-trained special forces. US officials say the decision to withdraw North Korean troops from the front lines may not be a permanent one. They say it is possible that the North Korean army will return after additional training or after Russia has found new ways to deploy them to avoid heavy casualties. The fighting to push Ukrainian forces back from Kursk has not stopped. A few weeks ago, the Ukrainian army launched a new offensive in the area but was defeated by Russian defenders. Although Ukrainian troops seized more than 800 square kilometers of Russian territory when they crossed the border last summer, Moscow's forces have since retaken half of that territory. In his speech this week, Mr. Zelensky praised Ukrainian troops fighting in the Kursk region, saying their efforts had created a buffer zone to protect northeastern Ukraine from intensified Russian attacks. North Korea has also supplied Russia with millions of artillery shells, accounting for half of the ammunition Moscow fires daily along with its missiles. According to Western and Ukrainian intelligence officials, in return, Russia has provided North Korea with oil, food and some weapons upgrades. Last summer, months before Ukraine launched its attack on Kursk, Putin met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in Pyongyang, where they restored the Cold War-era mutual defense pact and military cooperation between the two countries. In more recent news, Russia returns to heavy armor, storming Ukrainian fortresses. The town is considered the gateway to the most fortified areas left under Ukrainian control in the Donetsk region. Last week, Ukrainian commanders reported that a large number of Russian forces were massing there for a simultaneous assault to capture the town, which has held out for a year. The enemy is trying to attack around the clock. Maxim Bakulin, spokesman for the Ukrainian National Guard units fighting in Pokrovsk, said on January 28, Russian forces have returned to using armored vehicles and heavy vehicles after a period of infantry attacks. Before, they used to mobilize infantry, but now, in most cases, they bring troops closer, land and try to fight under the cover of artillery and multiple rocket launchers. Bakulin said, according to him, Russian forces have suffered some losses in equipment in the process. The commander of a UAV platoon in Ukraine's 68th Jaeger Brigade said Moscow sometimes sent up to 30 drones to attack a single position. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced on January 26 that Russia had dropped 1.250 glide bombs last week, twice the usual number, showing how heated the battlefield had become. Russia often uses glide bombs on Ukraine's front lines, in the battles for Severodonetsk in 2022 and Bakhmut in 2023. Russia won urban warfare through attacks with overwhelming force. In Pokrovsk, that is no longer the case, said Viktor Tragubov, a spokesman for the Ukrainian Kortitsia group fighting there. Russia does not have an unlimited number of personnel, which they used to deploy wave after wave until they started to hold out in some suburbs, then move into the city and destroy buildings closer to the center. Moscow's forces have abandoned this tactic in Pokrovsk. Meanwhile, Ukraine continues to use drones in its campaign to disrupt Russia's strategic logistics. The Ukrainian General Staff said it attacked the Kremny L factory in Bryansk, which is believed to produce electronic components for Russia's S-300 and S-400 air defense systems. On January 27, Ukrainian forces attacked the central radar of the S-400 air defense system, the most expensive air defense system produced by Russia. In addition, Ukraine also attacked warehouses in Russia's oil region filled with drones and thermobaric warheads, causing secondary explosions. The Ukrainian General Staff said its drones also attacked the Ryazan oil refinery, which produces diesel for tanks and jet fuel. The Russian Defense Ministry said it thwarted a large-scale Ukrainian drone attack on the night of January 29, shooting down 104 drones over several areas.